Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Michael Forman. I hope I pronounced your name right. Welcome to
Okay.
the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. It's a beautiful day today, and I'm anxious to get our interview started.
Okay. Okay, and let me introduce you to the audience. I read something beautiful about you. You are renowned for your exceptional communication skills and distinguished expertise in the realm of networking. And you are the author of the book Networking Unleashed, which you adeptly transformed into an engaging and financially rewarding experience. I want to know everything about it. What inspired you to become an author?
Well, it's the author really came after me wanting to spread the word about networking, and because if you network properly, then everything else just opens up. And I found that after the pandemic, everybody was shut in, they were closed, they forgot how to communicate. They forgot how important that one-on-one is to talk with somebody and effectively communicate. And right from when you first meet somebody, that eye contact, that shaking of the hand, it's all very important. And people forgot how to network one on one. And when you go to a networking event, everybody's kind of like, they're not going to say anything, and they're just going to wait, and they're going to see, and they go, well, that networking event really wasn't for me. It's, well, you didn't do it properly. If you network properly, listen, I'm giving a workshop to a company uh, next month. And I told him, I'm doing about 30 people, 35 people, I'm not sure. Um, I said, if everybody follows my lead and they follow my book as if it's a guide, I'll guarantee you it'll increase your profits.
Oh my goodness. I am inspired right now to dive into the study of your book because we know reading is not enough. We have to study and apply what we read. And I'm so
Yes.
grateful that you are the expert today about networking. What would you say if someone like me, for example, I began networking like 2 years ago. It was in the pandemic. I thought I have to talk to people online and never did this before. I was hiding as an accountant in my cave. I always say this, and my podcast. It's the same. We are meeting for the first time today. What would your advice be as first step?
First step is to do it. Okay, just go out there and don't be afraid. Don't be nervous. Just do it. Listen, the first time you go out and try to network, it's not going to be pretty. It's just really not going to be pretty. You're not going to do everything correctly. But if you include networking on your calendar, let's say every other week, because there's enough networking events to fill up your calendar, and just it's practice. You practice this like anything else, um, you'll get a lot out of it, and you just have to go and practice. And there are several steps that you have to be mindful of, and if you do it all correctly, then you can reap the benefits.
Okay, I see. It has to do with um, being courageous and making the first step. And I read a book this year called Quantum Networking. And for the first time, I came across the idea to introduce two people of my network to each other. And I would never have had the idea to do it. So I'm practicing that right now. But I think it's also a way of avoiding the conversation for myself so I connect them and they can whatever they do.
Well, it is a way to avoid the connection between yourself and them. If you were to connect two people, you are treating yourself as the expert. Okay. When I introduce two people now, when I refer somebody, I am very careful because when I refer somebody, my name is on the line as a referral source. So, I have to be very careful, very mindful of that. But that's one of the things that when you get through your networking series, when you get through networking itself, you then begin to do that. You begun, I call that in my book, I call that be the host, not the guest. In other words, when you're at a networking event and you've done it many times, and and you see somebody being a wallflower, not really paying attention, you walk up to them and you introduce yourself, and then you bring them around. You introduce them to others that you know, and then you're giving them that confidence where they can kind of start talking on their own, and you've done your job. Okay, you introduce them, and then you go off and you start to network on your own. But that is one of the things that you can do to boost your confidence, but it boosts the confidence of somebody who really doesn't have that confidence. And if you were that person, if you walked into a networking event and I was the person that walked up to you, I identified myself, introduced myself, we spoke a little bit, we chatted, we figured out what you did. I said, "Well, here, you know what? I have some people I would like to introduce you to." That would go a long way.
Wow, this is so great what you said. And I would like, or I will dive into that. As I said, your book is on my list right now. Please reach out to Michael as well and do research about the book. We will do this later on. Yes, we are. It's all about connection. I say this and I learn as I go, right? So my next question, thank you so much. And I learned so much. And my next question is, who inspires you? Are there coaches you had, mentors, and who was the best coach you ever had?
Well, I've been networking for 30 years. Okay, so I've really delved into the networking arena, but I really didn't get serious about it till about 12 years ago. Okay, but everything that I've done, I'm a military member, I'm a Desert Storm vet, and from then I realized that just talking to people, just communicating with people was so important. Then I wound up in the mortgage industry. I was a director of sales in a law firm, so everything that I did, I was communicating. And so, as for a coach, um, th- there are a few of the big names in the business, like Barry Habib in the mortgage industry. He's huge, but he is as big as he's that down to that level where he is willing to help the person on the street. He is so magnanimous with his help. So I just try to be that way.
I love it. I love what you said. Thank you so much for sharing. And I would like to know how you inspire other people. For example, when you talk about networking and it's important, or it will bring the person in front of you further in their career or whatever they are doing, what would you say to inspire them?
Well, I coach many people, and one thing I do is I, I have them jump into it, so to speak. Say, okay, you know what? We'll go to a networking event, and listen. I always suggest never go to a networking event with somebody.
Mm,
Don't go alone. Okay, because if you go with somebody, what are you going to do? You're going to stay with that person. You're going to use them as a crutch. So if you
yes,
walk up to a table with, let's say, five people, so now if both of you walked up, you really only are talking to two and a half people, to two people. So you cut it right in half. So I always suggest going alone. But if I am coaching you, training you, then I'm showing you what to do. And it's very simple. When you go and you meet them, you have eye contact, direct eye contact, and you shake their hand. Okay. Don't shake their hand like a limp fish. Okay. Be there, shake their hand like you are. It's true. You're real about it. Um, and you listen. You walk up. You have to be present. The number one problem with networking is this: your cell phone. Okay, because everybody has a cell phone, and they always have it out, or they have it on the table, or they hear it beep or something else like that. Turn it off, put it in your pocket, be present. Okay, so when you're talking with somebody, when you're talking, you have that eye contact and you listen. You listen to what they have to say. Now, never once did I say what my business was or what I'm there to sell or produce or anything. It's all about you. And I let you talk. And after you're finished, I would say something like, you know what, that's very interesting. How can I be the best salesperson for you? How can I be a referral source for you? And they're like, really? What do you mean? Exactly that. I believe in your product so much. Let me be your referral source. And if you do your job correctly, then he'll ask you for your business card and ask you what you're doing. And that's where you get involved with your 30-second elevator speech, which really is about 5 seconds. Okay. And then hopefully that 30-second, that 5 second sentence of what you do inspires a question back. And then that's where you do the second half of your 30-second elevator speech. But
Oh, I love.
that's a whole separate training.
Oh, I see. I see. So I learned so much now from your 60 seconds of response to my question, how you inspire other people. It's by helping them, supporting people, and focusing on them and not talking about you, because we can call it selfish when there are people talking about themselves the whole time, but it's also you can use it to pick up the ideas and then turn it into a your
Use it
favor, let's
use
say.
it to your advantage.
Mm. Okay, I
But
yes.
the biggest thing is you walk up, you be present, you listen, and you be present. Okay? Because just from what I just said, 90% of the people don't do that.
Okay, and we put our cell phones away.
Yeah,
Mhm,
completely away.
mhm. Okay, this is a great advice. Thank you so much. I pay attention the next time I meet someone. And your advice also to go in to networking events in person,
Yes, in
right?
person,
Mhm.
and do it every other week. Put it on your calendar. Now, they can either be a breakfast meeting, a lunch meeting, an after hours meeting, whatever it is. Okay? Put it on your calendar and go, because the more you go, the better you'll be.
Oh, yes, that's so true. Thank you so much. And I want to know about your gifts and talents. And I identified your gifts and talents about networking. But what else? What is it? You wrote your book. How about your book writing skills?
Well, I'm fortunate, okay, because my wife is a graphic designer, okay, and she helped me with the book. She did everything that she could. My book was a combination of facts and figures and everything for the last 10 years. It took me just a few months to write it, but if you can use this book as a guide, and it takes you from soup to nuts, exactly what you have to do. But I left out the most important thing. Okay. See, now, after you meet the person and after you build the rapport, and that's another really biggie without that I go through. Okay. But building the rapport, because you have to gain the trust of the person you're speaking to. They have to know you, like you, and trust you, and then they'll do business with you. Okay, so now once you got to that step, what do? You go home, you write him an email and say, okay, I hope he calls me. That's really not the way. Now, I go through exactly step by step what you should do.
I like it. I yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and okay, I want to know about your goals. You wrote one book, maybe you write another one. And do you set goals for yourself or intentions? And what is one of your goals and projects for this year, next year?
Well, well, I do. I have smaller goals so that I can achieve them and I can feel okay by it. Okay, because I have one major goal, two major goals, but I broke that goal down to several steps. And once I achieve that step, then obviously I go to the next one. But it's a whole process, and it's a confidence building process. Um, when I coach, when I just did a workshop at a speaking engagement, and I said, look, your confidence level is so important. It's so important. Okay. If you're not that confident, look, there are extroverts and there are introverts. Okay. Extroverts, I'm an extrovert. Okay. You can put me into a place where there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 people, and I'll start talking, I'll start a conversation. Okay. There are those introverts. Those are the inside salespeople. Those are the people that you really want to keep inside. But they say, well, okay, I'm an introvert, but how do I get out and do networking because I want to expand my horizons? And it's really very simple. You have to bring a wingman. Okay. You know how
Mhm,
there's a ghostwriter with
mhm.
writing novels? Okay. Think of it as the same way. Okay. You have somebody with you who is an extrovert, okay, who's going to walk up to the table with you, listen to the conversation with you, and say, oh, you know what? That's very good. As a matter of fact, my friend here, whatever, has a perfect explanation for that. And let them talk. And so let them talk a little, then a little more, then a little more. Then all of a sudden, you're going to realize that you don't need that person. You can go off on your own.
Wow, this is the best advice I ever heard. Thank you so much. Wow, a wingman, you call it.
I call it a wing. I'm an Air Force guy, so I
Okay,
call it a wingman.
new word for me. I love new words. And I have one last question for you. And it is when people reach out to you after listening to this episode, and they will, I know, please reach out to Michael. Do you have a special offer or service for the Inspired Podcast community?
Well, if you go to my website, michaelaforman.com, I keep it very simple, very easy. Okay, michaelaforman.com. On there is a series of the podcast that I was on, my what I talk about, but there's a contact form. To the left, there is you can buy the book. There's a direct link to buy the book. And there is a contact form. You fill it out, you send it to me, and I will contact you back within 24 hours and we'll discuss. I do keynote speeches, breakout sessions, workshops, and I coach one on one. But either
Oh,
way, I will contact you within that 24-hour cycle.
wow. Yeah, thank you so much. Now it's time for your last message to the audience.
My last message, okay.
Mhm.
So I want them to think of one thing, one very important thing. Let's say you have the contact down. You have the building of the rapport down and you made your contact. They give you a business card. What are you going to do with that business card? You're going to write the date, the name of the function, and something you had talked about. Okay. And that's so when you get home or back to your office, You can immediately write them an email with just, listen, I'm glad I met you this Thursday at this wonderful event. I'm sorry to hear about your son. He hurt his ankle, but I hope to have coffee with you soon. Don't put a date, and sign it and send it off. Now, what you do for the second, that's the second shoe to drop, is you take out a personal handwritten thank you note and you put the same information in. I'm glad I met you on such and such date at such and such an event. I'm sorry to hear about your son. Looking forward, would you be open to having a cup of coffee? And just sign your name, put your business card in, and send it to them. And there's a whole series of things that happen after that, but that is the main. That will get the that'll get 50% of the people that wouldn't have normally answered you to answer you.
Oh, yes. I totally believe that because the conversations online or wherever are always the same and the same non-following up. There's no
Follow up
con
is key. I've done breakout sessions just on follow up.
Okay. This is what the world needs in order to connect. To connect, and connection also creates peace,
Yes,
right? This is what we want.
this is correct. This is correct.
Thank you. Thank you so much for our interview. I appreciate it so much. I learned so much, and I will learn more from your book. Thank
Good.
you.
I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you for having me.